What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Metal Maniacs podcast. And the following is an interview with Sean Peters from the band Cavalcade. He also plays in Terror by Night. He's been doing things around the Michigan scene for as long as I can remember in the band Summon and a whole lot of other bands. So I hope you guys enjoy the interview. Like, share, subscribe, all that. Keep it metal. Peace.
Yo.
Hey.
What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
Good. Yeah, real good.
Hey, I'm Jay.
Jay?
I'm Nick. So
That's the same as being in the room, right?
Yeah. Nice to meet you, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure, man.
little Baileys in that Irish coffee, little Irish Baileys in that coffee.
Not yet. No. Give me a couple hours, maybe.
Well, I'm gonna say this. You know, Nick and I have been playing in bands for a long, long time, Sean, and your bands and your name have been coincided with the Michigan metal scene for as long as I can remember. I mean, when I was playing in early bands, you know, Summon was a name that went around and you heard it all of the time. And, you know, obviously I didn't know you back then. The world was a little smaller without the internet. But
for real.
Just so you know, I've always known your work and I've always kind of been impressed by the amount of work that you put out. So
Thank you.
So great job on that as far as like being prolific and just keeping at it. You know, you have some interesting work. And today we're going to talk about, we have quite a few questions for you, but we're going to talk a little bit about your history, but then we'll kind of focus on really what you're working on now.
Okay.
And then before we get started in that, I also know you're a badass tattoo artist. So just put that out there. It's a Metal Maniacs podcast, but also I just know you're a hell of an artist too. So fucking great job on that. So
yeah. I mean, I've been an artist ever since I can remember, so I think that's what's contributed to the music thing, you know, is like just being creative, you know, and being inspired by other things that get you going, and there you go, you know.
Yeah.
All it takes is being inspired by something, you know, really.
Yeah. So
hell yeah.
I like to kind of go in chronological order, especially on these Zoom calls, so we're not kind of talking over each other. What kind of got you into like metal and extreme metal and kind of the darker art and stuff like that, you know, kind of where we're at today?
I was always fascinated by like horror movies and stuff and comics, you know, especially the darker stuff. I liked being scared as a kid, I guess, a little bit, you know. As far as getting into like extreme music, it was more or less, you know, I was into Kiss and Judas Priest and stuff like that as a kid, but the heavy stuff didn't come until like the early 90s, you know. Once a friend of mine played me, I think, Venom and Slayer, I was just like hell bent and trying to find the heaviest thing out there beyond then. And right around that time is when the death metal underground scene was really starting to blossom and bloom. So I was lucky enough my first show was, I went to see Metallica, I think in '89 with my mom, of all people. My mom took me. And then my second show was Michigan Death Fest.
Ooh.
So that exposed me to the whole underground metal thing, and that got me going on tape trading, and just it all went from there, really. Like just that little bit of exposure, you know. I'll have to say Illustrious Hammer was probably one of the big influences, them or Sinister Black, because they were the only local people I'd seen that was doing anything like that. They both played the Death Fest show as well, so it was just got to be that young again, you know. It would be awesome. That's so exciting, you know.
Jeez, dude.
Know what you know now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So is that why you picked up the guitar as well?
Yeah. I started just noodling around on friends' guitars, you know, and I'd pick up a riff here and there that I could play, and it's really how it started. I just learned a power chord and kind of took off, you know. Didn't start writing stuff until I probably was about 15, I would say, somewhere around then. Very novice to that time, but like quick learner, you know. So around the right people. Jeff Elrod from he was in Hammer originally, and he eventually did Masochist and Winds of the Black Mountains, was like a big influence on me. It's kind of one of those people, like, you know, I'm one of those people when I see somebody do it, I kind of go, I can do that, or I can do something like that, you know. So it's just how it all started, you know. Once I learned I could play Am I Evil or Iron Man guitar, it was like taken off after that, you know, really.
Here we go.
Yeah, we're off.
Yeah. So how did the tattooing and art come into play? Because I know that's kind of a balance, because you do a lot with music too, but I know what a dedication it is to be able to become not just an artist that can draw and everything, but also to be able to like tattoo. So I'm curious, before we even start getting into your, you know, former catalog, how you balance all that, you know, because I know that's such a dedication to draw and tattoo as well. So you're playing guitar, producing a bunch of stuff, which we'll get into as well, but just like, where did that come about too, you know?
I got exposed to the tattooing world from playing in bands, actually, because um, I started playing in bands like 14, 15, and 14, 15-year-olds at that time were not as advanced, I guess, as I was. So I played with a lot older people. So they were old enough to get tattoos, you know, so it was kind of bragged me up to the guy they were getting work from. And then jokingly, they were like, "Oh, bring your stuff up." And I was like, yeah, whatever, you know, kind of didn't really take it too seriously. And then one night we were going to go out partying, and they were like, "Hey, we're stopping at the shop before we go. Why don't you bring your stuff?" And I did, and I got hired that day. So I think it's a
Damn.
blessing, because, like, you know, it allows me to still be creative, and I can have time to do creative stuff, because it's not a normal 9 to 5 job. You know, it does eat up a lot of bulks of my time, but it also does allow me a lot of freedoms, you know, to like make my own schedule, and I'm not on some other boss's watch, you know. And so it's worked out hand in hand. You know what I mean? They support each of them support each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So when do you still work at what's the name of the shop that you work at? Eclectic?
Eclectic Art. Yep, I
Yeah.
own that. Yep, I've
Okay.
owned it since 2010.
Okay, cool. When I was with my ex, she went in there and got a tattoo, and I think you were actually in there tattooing at that time, if I remember correctly. This was, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, but I remember going in there, and I remember your shop. We'll get back to the music in a second, but I just remember going into there because I have some tattoos, you know, and I had a buddy do my tattoos, and I thought they were good at the time, you know, but then when I went to your shop and I seen the kind of art you guys are putting out, I was like, oh, these are real tattoos. This is how you really fucking tattoo. I know, just the work in there, I was like, after that, I haven't got any more ink, but I was like, I never want to get anything except for the caliber of the kind of art that you guys were putting out.
Yeah, we're total custom private studio. We don't do like just the average stuff. I mean, I have guys that do that stuff, but the majority of people there are custom by appointment only people, you know, that they're going to draw you something original. So
yeah,
just how it's always been, you know. I've spent a good 20 years doing street shop walk-in stuff, and it's, you know, it pays the bills, but if you don't have to do it, it's a lot easier because you get to focus on what you like, and it takes time to build your clientele to be able to do that. But, you know, luckily that's where I'm at, so where I can pick and choose, and I don't have to do the trendy tattoos of the time, you know, that like everybody gets, and then 5 years from now they'll all think is dumb, you know.
yeah, all them Looney Tunes characters and shit that everybody was.
I can tell you, I've been at 33 years, and there's so many trends that have come and gone that I'm like, yeah, I'll be covering this up in, you know, 10 years.
Yeah,
so it's like you've seen it long enough. So when you're around it long enough, you've seen it all.
Has the tattoo industry been your main source of income over the years then?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Good for you.
Yep.
Wow.
I've been
that is awesome to hear.
Since 92, which is probably when I first joined Illustrious Hammer, I would think. So it's been hand in hand, really, you know, like we had a version of Summon before I started tattooing, but it wasn't, we did a demo and kind of fell apart after that. And then Hammer, I joined Illustrious Hammer, and Chaz went and joined Masochist with the old Hammer guitar player, and glad to where we're at now.
Okay, so let's get into that a little bit. So let's get into some of your history before we start talking about, you know, current things. So Masochist, you weren't in that, or you were in that?
Yeah, I was in it.
Okay, cool.
Probably about a year. I was only like a year and a half. I was around for all the demo stuff, and, you know, I was really tight friends with Chaz. Was obviously the bass player for Summon, but when we first started the original version of Summon, he was in the band too. And initially that band was just going to become Masochist, because Jeff, who started Masochist, was the guitar player for Illustrious Hammer.
Oh,
so
okay.
At one point I was trying to be second guitar player for Illustrious Hammer, and didn't work out, and Jeff left and started Masochist, so I joined Illustrious Hammer.
Oh, okay.
And then basically about a year and a half later, I joined Masochist.
So I do have a question for you. You know, we're some death metal guys, Nick and I. We've played death metal pretty much since we've been 16 years old. We're in our early 40s now, you know.
I'm in my late 40s, but same.
Well, I've noticed that, you know, you definitely have some death metal influence in a lot of I've skimmed through a lot of your catalog. I've listened to a lot of it, you know, especially since you sent me the link, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
But to me, you lean more towards the black metal side almost, in my mind. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And what is your draw to that, I guess? Being more on the black metal side.
It's that thing I said earlier, you know, and it's like once I heard Slayer and stuff like that, I just wanted to find Venom. I wanted to hear like the heaviest thing I could find, you know. So I gravitated ultimately to death metal, you know, Celtic Frost, Hellhammer, that kind of stuff. Bathory was huge influence on me. But yeah, I was like, you know, when I was like 15, 16 years old, man, it was Grave, it was Entombed, it was Deicide, it was all that stuff, you know, and I still love all that early stuff. There definitely became a point where I think I stopped paying attention to it just because I was doing so much black metal stuff and got more involved with the, you know, overseas black metal stuff and the US black metal stuff. But that's part of the reason I went to Masochist too, is I was, Hammer at the time was not practicing at all, really. We would just show up, do shows, and it didn't feel functional. So, and Masochist was practicing all the time, and it just seemed like a no-brainer, you know, because we all love the same shit, you know, the old Beharit, and we liked a lot of that early Scandinavian '90s Black Death stuff too, you know, that really got it. Yeah, that
real raw shit.
Yeah, like early Rotting Christ and like Verathron and Beharit, Order from Chaos, you know, just odd shit, Blasphemy.
Yeah.
It was just like, what's heavier, or what was heavier, you know, and we're talking like early 90s, so it wasn't like you just had it at your fingertips like you do now. You had to seek it out, and you had to know someone had a copy, or, you know, I used to always carry a blank tape in my back pocket just in case somebody had something I needed, man.
That's badass.
Or something I'd be willing to record over, put it that way, you know.
Yeah.
just in case, man, you know. You never, oh my God, you have the new Blasphemy record. Nobody has this. Let me dub this.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's kind of why our podcast is called the Metal Maniacs, because that's the stuff that we're drawn to as well, the extreme metal. And those were where we learned about all the bands that we were into, you know. They covered a lot of the black metal, a lot of the underground stuff, you know. So that's kind of why we call our podcast that, because we want to pay homage to most of that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It's the shit we grew up on, you know, reading all those Tape Trader, you know, all those different, what did they call that, Nick? When there was like the pen pals or whatever.
Yeah,
and people you know.
Yeah, tape trading, you know.
Yeah.
The pen pal section.
Yeah.
I did that for years until, you know, kind of really the internet took over, and then emails were just more convenient. But man, it was so cool to have, you know, I had a P.O. box at the time and everything. Just go to a P.O. box and you got a new demo from somebody, and whether it sucked or it really was great, it's just always something new, you know. So you'd send them your demo. Yeah, it was kind of one of those things where like you get an ad from somebody else, you know, and then you'd go, oh, this looks interesting. I'll send them my demo, and they'd send their demo back, and you'd find all kinds of new stuff that way, you know. Like I got demos from like early Behemoth demos and first Angel Corpse demos and stuff like that, just from tape trading. You know what I mean? It was like I said, that Michigan Death Fest was the first thing where I met Deceased and Ex Mortis, and that's who I started tape trading with right then and there. And I think I got a copy of Rot Zine too, which was like I think it was done by the Wild Rag guys. Anyway, the zine had like every freaking band that I was obsessed with, from Grave to Blasphemy to Order from Chaos, and it just sent stuff out, you know.
Yeah.
And so it all come back, and I kind of miss those days because it was just that not really knowing what to expect, you know what I mean, and hoping for the best, I guess, you know.
Yeah. Those were the days too. I remember so many times even just going into like the CD store or Believe in Music, what we had around here, and You just picked something up because you thought the art was cool, and sometimes it was
The
a winner,
import box, right?
yeah, and sometimes
always
it
in
was
the
a
import
shitter.
yeah. Always in the import box, though. It's like it's never just in the general stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It's always imports, which made it easier to find, I guess.
Yeah, the guy got to know me in there because he would know what I was looking for, because I'd be digging through there and he's like, "Oh, you got to check this out," and it'd be some shit he had in the back or he just got or something because he knew what I was looking for.
NBC here,
yeah.
They go, "Oh, you're the metal guy. Check this out."
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Not just the
I
regular.
all kinds of stuff. I don't just listen to metal, but you know, at my early formative years, I was metal obsessed. You know,
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Grew up on rock and roll just like everybody else did, you know what I mean? Yep. But
did you have that playing in the house? Like, was your folks like listening to rock and roll? Is that?
Yeah, my dad was a rocker, you know.
Okay.
Black Sabbath, David Bowie, Alice Cooper, you know, being Michigan, Ed Nugent, stuff like that, you know. He kind of he got me to Arthur Brown. Like, I don't know if you remember that crazy nut. Is that song Fire? I am the god of hellfire, you know, and super dark, evil stuff for even being like, it was almost like hippie satanic music in a weird way. But my dad turned me onto that stuff, you know, and like, that's so I think that's part of why I gravitated towards darker music, you know, was like hearing Black Sabbath and like Savoy Brown's Hellbound Train just had this artwork that looks like it'd be a death metal cover now, you know, you just stare at it forever. So it's just that stuff captivated me. And so, yeah, you know, my dad be playing, you know, Man Who Sold the World by David Bowie and the first Sabbath album, and I'd just be back there grooving, you know. Like, music was one of the first things I related to as a little kid, you know. Like, they said when I was like 3 years old, I could sing both doubles. Was a double album, the live REO Speedwagon record that I can't remember the name of it right now, but 3 years old and I could run around and sing every song on a 4-sided record.
Yeah, nice.
That's awesome. So my parents definitely be into it, you know.
Yeah, I've noticed that as a theme on this show, that a lot of guys that have the rock and roll around, they're always looking, you know, when it's around the house when you're young. You know, I know that's something that Nick and I both had as well, and then all of a sudden it just leads to one thing to another, to another, to another. Yeah, you know?
My dad would come in, I'd have my Winnie the Pooh record player, and I'd be blasting, you know, REO Speedwagon, Black Sabbath on it, when I'm supposed to be playing Pinocchio records or something. You know?
Yeah,
Teddy Ruxpin.
That's boring, man. This is way cooler.
You got the Teddy Ruxpin jamming deicide.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you could put any tape in that Teddy Ruxpin, dude. You could fucking. I remember that.
Let's see how he likes grave.
Yeah. Likes that chainsaw fucking sound.
They just go, the mouth just goes. It doesn't move. It doesn't know what to do.
Some gutturals from the Ruxpin. That's what we need. All right, so getting into some of your history here, bro. You know, you had Masochist. That was kind of one of the earlier things, but you know, Summon. Looking it up, you know, that was like what, 91, 92, something like that.
That was the first version of it, and then, like I said, there was that weird window of between well, actually, that started in 90, 91, and then then Masochist thing was all till about 94, end of 94, and Jeff at the time was really bad on drugs, and he just disappeared. So we were like, what do we do? So we were like, I had just written like four or five songs, and we're just like, let's just take Summon back on and we'll just go from there. So that's really how it happened, you know. Just from that point on, we were like, all right, we're going to do a demo, and then we're going to do a full-length album all ourselves and just make the footprint, you know, and start, you know. It was all DIY. We tried starting a label, me and Chaz did, but we definitely, me and him, got to a point where we were like this, and then we kind of started seeing different things differently, you know. That's a whole other story. But yeah, initially we started a label trying to get all that stuff out, you know, just the old Summon stuff, and we tried signing to some labels and stuff, and it just, you know, underground stuff, labels come and go, you know, like albums get lost in the fray, or they don't get properly released, and you know, just get lost in the mix. But yeah, so Summon is probably the longest thing I've ever done with a band, because I think it was like a 15-year run, something like that.
Yeah, it looks like what it was, like around 2010, maybe. You guys around then.
2006. 2006 was split. Yeah.
About the end of it. So
yeah.
now was Josh in the band the whole time? Well, it's funny because we
No.
just had Recorruptor on the show, and that's where Josh, who's Josh is playing for now. So it's just kind of funny now that we're talking to you, and then he was in that band as well. So
he was at the end of Summon.
Okay.
The original drummer was the drummer for Masochist.
Oh, okay.
Sutmer. Because we just went on as a 3-piece, you know what I mean, for a while, and I can't remember what happened, but it got to a point where we were getting ready to record the second record, and we actually recorded it, but we were unhappy with how it turned out, and that's when we hired Josh.
Oh, okay, good hire.
Yeah, well, I think at the time he was like 16, 17 years old, you know.
But he was like a prodigy though, right?
Yeah, he was a little spaz, like little pit bull full of fucking caffeine, you know, like damn. He still is, man. I mean, the guy's older now, but he still fucking shreds, man.
Yeah, he's
still one of my favorite drummers to watch.
Yeah, he's a bad boy.
Yeah, we've been trying to work on projects together, but like he's got 3 kids now, and he's a tattoo artist too now.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. But our schedules just never work out, you know.
Yeah. And I know he's pretty busy with Recorruptor. They got a lot of things going on, you know. They're always playing and doing shit, and trying to be in one band's hard enough.
Yeah, for real.
That's why I hold you on a high regard, because your catalog is so deep. I'm like, how the fuck do you find time for all this stuff? But I guess you kind of answered that too when the tattooing allows you to have a little more time for music. You know, that's cool.
Well, I think too, because like my whole life is around, even my income is based around being creative. So it's like, it's not uncommon for me to find 2 hours to like work on something here and there. You know what I mean? It stacks up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I do oil painting. You know what I mean? And like people are like, how do you get so many of those done? I'm like, well, you know, if you're doing an hour or 2 here 3 or 4 times a week, you get somewhere. You know what I mean? Like it's chipping away at it. You know, it's the same with recording. Like I haven't gone into a real studio since probably 2004 was the last Summon record. And everything else has been in-house. So I like that challenge of, you know, kind of producing I kind of enjoy it, you know. Mixing is a pain in the ass, but
yeah.
I love producing though. Like, hey, what about this idea? Let's layer this up. Let's try this crazy shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so, we'll I want to dive into that a little bit more here in just a second. I'm very curious about that, but I can hear the Cavalcade on that, like that's just a lot of production going on there, just with all the layers and stuff like that. And so we do reaction episodes, and I believe you maybe sent us something to react to. So that episode will probably be out before this. And I'll be honest with you, while I have you on the Zoom call, when I seen like kind of the influences and what it would be about, and I've heard nothing but good things, because even Mike Bradley from Centenary was talking you guys up, you know, because you guys just put out that double album. He was said something on the episode that we talked to him about, brought you guys' name up. But with the influences, I got to be fully transparent and be like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. And then Nick and I listened to it, and we're both like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. Like, I really enjoyed it, dude, because I was, you know how it is, like it says, you know, maybe influenced by or for fans of, and then, you know, I'm like, I don't really like any of these bands, but then I heard what you did with that, and I was like, that's fucking interesting, cool, man. I liked it, you know?
It's a 5 different dudes, you know what I mean? They all had crazy different influence. I mean, me and Brad probably are the most similar. You know, we both come from metal backgrounds. Brad was in Geneseo for years.
Oh, okay. Very familiar.
And so I've known those dudes forever. Like I actually recorded their first 2 records. 3.
Geneseo?
Cavalcade. I recorded Geneseo too.
Oh, okay.
But Cavalcade, before I joined them, I actually recorded 3 records with them, with their old singer. And I was always kind of, I didn't understand it, because it was, the band actually tunes all in different notes. And by that, I mean, most bands will be like, okay, where everybody's in D, the bass player usually follows the guitar player, so on and so forth. These guys all tune to different notes, so it makes them play different stuff. So nobody's playing the exact same phrasing. So the idea is that the bass is in standard E, and then there's an F sharp guitar above that, and then a B below all of it.
Huh.
So actually, it's weird because sometimes that F sharp being the highest tune will almost sound like a bass. It's so
Ah.
weird. So everybody's roles in the band kind of change, you know what I mean? Depending on what the song's doing. So we can take a one riff song and make it sound like there's 40 riffs in it just because everybody's doing something different, you know?
Yeah.
That's what intrigued me about the band, you know? And I always thought that they had like a little bit of like an acid bathy kind of singer that it'd even make it better, you know? So
Yeah.
kind of how I got into that band was I just recorded them, and once their singer left, they were like, "You want to try it out?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not? You guys are all fun. We're all friends, you know."
Yeah. You've worked with them. You know you can work with
Yeah,
them, right?
I knew them all years before that anyway. So yeah, right around the time I recorded the first Wastelander stuff, and then Cavalcade got a hold of it. And we're like, "Hey, you want to record us?" And I'm like, "Down, let's do this," you know.
All right, since we're talking about that, so excuse me. What led you to the production side of things then, Sean? I know you said you like the challenge, but what do you do? Just start stacking up some equipment, or it was one of those things
Yeah,
where you said, "Hey, they can do it, I can do it." I know you had already
yeah.
mentioned that, but what kind of
I
made you do
started
that? And add that also to your plate of all the shit that you do.
out.
Cuz that's a lot of shit right there, bro.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still learning too a lot of it. Like,
Mm, yeah.
but I started in probably 93, I think. I traded somebody for a tattoo for a 4-track and a
Mm,
microphone, you know. And I didn't really think much of it, and you know, would kind of record practices and stuff like that. But the first real thing I got to do with it was we recorded a Masochist demo called Nocturnal Practices. It was the last recording we had done before the band split, other than a 7-inch we had done. Um, and that was just kind of dipping my toes in it, you know, like kind of going, okay, you know, and I'd make some little songs by myself with some keyboard drums. That's how it started. And then trade Summoner for a computer that had recording capabilities, you know, and started looking at interfaces and just, you know, and I now have everything here that I would need to record a full album, you know, instrument wise, so I can technically in house make something happen, you know. And
yeah.
it's just little increments here and there. There'd be years where I wouldn't do shit with it, you know, and Dark Psychosis was like a side project thing I did, and that was kind of like me learning how to record. Really, is what it was. It's like, well, this gives me something to focus on and try things, and you know, that's what that band was always supposed to be. That just like the experimental thing to see what sticks. You know,
Yeah.
what's what you know what works.
That was just
Yeah,
kind of a one-man band for you?
yeah,
Dark Psychosis? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I did try to do a live outfit with it after Wastelander and Summon had broken up, but it just didn't work. And I did another record during COVID, but man, it's so. I wasn't intending to release it, but someone liked it, and I was like, all right, I guess we'll put it out. And
Yeah, you have 2
yeah,
releases, right? One in 2004 and one in
yeah,
2020.
yeah. There's one in the
Which
middle too.
tracks?
There's one in the middle that I don't know. I can't remember what we called it now. Lord's None, but that to me was more like it should have been the next Summon record. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Because it just so it followed that vein and just veered off of where we started. That's kind of why I put the thing to rest, because it had so many different directions that it didn't kind of make any sense to me anymore. You know what I
mhm.
mean? So it's time for something new. So, but yeah,
So I opened this podcast by saying that, your name and or at least your band's name has always been synonymous with playing
Michigan metal.
alongside of the bands that Nick and I have always been in. I mean, Infinite Design being
mhm,
one of them. And I think there was a opportunity we were going to try to play with Wastelander along those times because that was a time we were very active in Infinite Design, but I don't think we ever
yeah,
made it work.
yeah,
So you kind of went from early Masochist, Summon, Hammer, like you were saying, and then what did Wastelander then come next? Was that kind of, obviously the Dark
yeah.
Psychosis thing was in there. Then Wastelander became like your main project then?
Yeah.
Like the main thing you
Yeah,
focused on? Because I know you guys are playing a ton of shows. I always seen your name
yeah,
on flyers, familiar with your
yeah.
work there.
Yeah, that was another thing. I got a drum machine, um, or a program for recording a drum machine. I really didn't know how to use it, and I was hanging out with Matt, the singer from Wastelander, and we were just, we'd always have power time sessions. We just watch stupid movies and listen to metal and drink beers and stuff. And I was telling him I had a drum machine thing. And I don't know what to do with it. I need a project to kind of whatever. And he's like, I got a bunch of riffs sitting around. So we just started making songs. And I wasn't even supposed to be in the band. I was just supposed to produce it for him. And by the end of it, I played guitar and sang on it. It was like, I guess I'm in the band now. So,
oh yeah,
but yeah, that was another thing. I like learning how to do a drum machine led to the Wastelander demo that then led to Ian joining and becoming a full-fledged band and doing an album. And
so then you found a drummer then for that, right?
the drummer found us, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's funny because we played a little house party with just our friends, and we played a CD with the drums on it. Just played to that, and everybody loved it. And Ian was actually in the crowd and was like, I'm gonna play drums for you guys. This is ridiculous. Let's all right, cool. Off and running.
Yeah, the old drum machine in the back doesn't always work out.
Yeah.
Seen it done, but
someone nudged it and you're like, oh no, where are we at now?
Yeah, the fucking cord falls out or something. Yeah,
that CD, there's no like restart set,
yeah.
And you're like, I'm lost. Unforgiving.
Well, so you jammed in Wastelander for a while. Tell me a little bit about Grave Moth, because I read something about how that was just like a contest band. Like you guys had at like a few hours or something to make the CD, and like, is that what it was? Something like that?
My friend Cam Early did this thing at the Avenue, a local bar around here. It was called 48-Hour Contest. And you signed up for it, and they'd pair you with 3 to 4 other musicians. And you had 48 hours to write a 15-minute set, I think it was. And so I got paired with Todd Carrington, sick drummer he's in Jack Pine Snag, and used to play in Hordes. I can't think of his other bands. Solid drummer, man. And we got paired up with this other guy named Alex, who was an amazing bass player. So it was like, 48 hours. I think we did 3 jam sessions. I didn't even have vocals or words. I was just up there, blah, 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 blah. But we won it. So it was like, well, I guess we should keep going. So we tried to be a band for almost a year. But we were all in other bands, and it just got too much. I think at the time I was doing, what was I doing? I was doing Cavalcade. I think Wastelander too. It was just too much. We couldn't keep up on it. And we at least made a CD and got it documented, but
sounded good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was stoner. We were trying to be like stoner rock meets like Monster Magnet meets metal or death metal or something like that. I don't know. Something.
It stood out to me versus some of the other catalog, and I had that noted as, Grave Moth. I want to talk a little bit more about that, because that kind of fell in line with some of my interests as well. So maybe that explains it a little bit better. Different set of musicians and little.
Yeah, and we were like just kind of like, let's see what happens. I think we had one song. God, I don't remember what it's called, but the lyrics are about some guy naked in a shed. It was just like the weirdest shit ever. like all of our song titles were just kind of like, because I couldn't do the whole death metal thing or the evil dark stuff. Just didn't make sense. So I just kind of went with it, and tried to. I think one of the songs is about Ricky the Acid King. I don't know if you know that story. That's it was just it was a good time though. We talked about bringing it back because we're all still around, but again. I think Todd's in his 50s, the drummer. It's just been hard getting schedules. Like, I hate when I'm in multiple bands at one time.
Sure.
2 is okay to juggle, but when I start getting into the third one, I feel a crunch, and I don't feel like I'm focusing on anything at that point. So I'm just too much,
Yeah.
I'm very much a player that's got to do it all the time and be like ready. I'm not an improv. Let's just make something up kind of guy. I like to be prepared, especially when it comes to guitar playing.
Yeah, 100%. I can't sit there and jam. I'm not a jammer. I have to sit down and I have to rehearse on my own time, and then make sure that other people are rehearsing too to show up for practice and
I gotta you have a new riff, that's cool. I'll have it next time. I'm gonna record you playing it, and then when I come back, I'll have it. Trying to sit here and figure it out is just wasting time, in my opinion.
100%. Yeah. I know Jay feels the same way. He's not about to sit there and teach you how to play the fucking riff. He'll show it to you one time, maybe 20
minutes trying to get one riff down, man. Show up with it ready, and we can work on it together.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So is Wastelander? Is that something that's still going, Sean, or is that thing kind of squashed? Wastelander.
It broke up in 2000 and 10, I think, something like that, 9 or 10. And we had the thing that happened was is me and Matt were still friends. Ian, the drummer, moved to Chicago.
Okay.
So it got harder to like do stuff, and our personal lives were kind of a mess. So we had to kind of pull the plug on it. But we had started the album that we just put out back in 2009, and we just never finished it. So fast forward to COVID, and I was like, Matt, we should finish these songs. They're actually pretty good. You know, we took the time to write them, got the drums down, and most of the guitars. We just got to finish everything else up. So that's what's came out now is we finished that record. So yeah, we're back to being an active band. We're not like playing every weekend or anything like that. We're kind of more, just to be able to pull it out when we want to for write shows and and write music and stuff like that. Matt does Dystopian Dogs with Victor from Sauron, a record label. So yeah, so they're just getting ready to put that new album out on vinyl. It's like coming out very soon. So yeah, I'm excited. We got a whole EP probably of newer stuff. We just need to crunch it back down. But we kind of just take a break during winter. You know what I mean? Just Matt lives in Detroit, and Kevin, our new drummer, lives in Howell. So it's just kind of scattered.
Yeah.
Well, we're about probably the next month or so. I'll probably start rehearsing. We got some shows coming up.
Okay.
Stuff to do.
So your two main bands right now, Cavalcade and sounds like Wastelander.
Yep.
Yeah. And then tell me a little bit about, I love this Terror by Night record that you and Eric just put out. So Eric's dear friend of ours. We go way back with him. We played in all the bands with him, from his Theocracide days. And then even on his Black Temple stuff, when he was, when him and Ray were on the episode, your name got brought up multiple times because I know you recorded the first Black Temple. And then also I know you contributed some solos and some different, things to some of those albums to help him out a little bit. So I know you were kind of involved in that process as far as helping him produce. And I know you were also led a hand and he came and seen you produce. So that was something that he started doing as well. But then you guys put out this Terror by Night EP, I guess you could call it. Is that what you're calling it? EP?
It's full length. It's 40 minutes.
Oh, okay. So it's awesome. I fucking listened to it. I loved it. It was kind of throwback. It's kind of the shit that I liked. Artwork was badass, but of course, if that's coming from you, it's going to be great because I just like, this is fucking sweet. I need like a shirt. I need a poster. I need something because this is fucking awesome. I loved it. But I just really liked, like, as far as going through your catalog and his catalog, and I told him this too. I'm like, that's some of my favorite shit that I heard. Like, both of you guys actually do. So tell me a little bit about this project, bro.
So this was, so the idea was I did the 2020 Dark Psychosis record, and I signed to Morbin Records, and I was supposed to be for 2 records, and I released the first record as the second one. Was like, well, I'm done with my contract now, but I'd started working on newer songs, and I took a different approach to it this time, where I was like, I'm just gonna have fun with it. So the main idea was, what would a 16-year-old me do with the shit I have now? So that was really the intention of it, So I got like a badass BC Rich I wanted, bought a heavy metal pedal, just went for what I was doing in the 90s, and kind of I wrote it backwards in a lot of ways, where most people write riffs and then they come up with drums and stuff like that. I actually would write the drums first. Because there's like a lot of, that's what I loved about a lot of the early 90s stuff, was it was before everybody was trying to be so goddamn fast, and it was more catchy and more triplet kick drum stuff. So I get a song in my head that I remember that I really liked, and I loved how the drums did this and then they went to this. So I would write drums with that in mind, not trying to rip the drum off, but to get inspired by it, like, okay, so it went from this kind of cadence to this cadence, start making stuff that would resemble a verse, chorusy kind of thing. And then I'd write the guitars to it. So it was like jamming to myself, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to write riffs now because I've been doing it so long that I just always feel like I've already done it, So I'll throw away riffs left and right. So like, I've probably already did this in Masochist or something, you know what I mean? I don't have that filter to go, no, this is great. I always just think it's garbage. So doing it that way kind of sparked more interest, and the songs just started to take their lives on themselves, and it'd just be like one thing where it'd be like, okay, this, like, one song I was inspired by an old Rotting Christ song from the early demo days. One was like, I want to do something that's like a Beharit track, you know, and it's just more about how structures and how they wrote songs, and then I just did my thing over it, really, you know. But it was generally the idea of like, what would 16-year-old Sean do if I brought him in here right now and said, go for it, you know? You can do anything you want. And that was the spirit of it, was to try to like capture what I felt when I was 16, you know what I mean? And not 49, you know?
Yeah. Maybe that's why I liked it so much.
I was literally trying to reconnect to your youth, you know, and like, there's a reason why you got into it. There's a reason why you like it. There's stuff that still to this day sticks out in your head when you hear it. You go, oh yeah, you know, like I'm probably getting ready to write another song. I'm probably going to base it around, I love the drumming of Orders from Chaos. That guy was he was a fast player, but he wasn't a blast guy. Man, his feet were fucking phenomenal. I want to write something that has that same kind of power feet to it, you know? It's like Celtic Frost, but faster or something, you know? Like,
right.
But yeah, that's pretty much Terror by Night is. And so once I had the songs done, I had them done. Probably they would have sounded similar to the last Dark Psychosis record I did. And I started to mix them, and I was like, God, they're just all over the place. You know, nothing sounds cohesive. It's just like one guitar was recorded one day this way, and one drums were live, one were drum machine. It just was all over the place. So Eric, by this point, had already built his studio, and being a drummer, I loved the way his drum sounds. So I was like, dude, would you be interested in recording these with me? So funny story is we've never jammed in a room together.
Yeah.
We've done all through click tracks and sending stuff back and forth to each other. So I'd send him the song to a click, and he'd write the drums, and then I'd re-record the guitars so it fit even tighter, you know what I mean? So a lot of production done with it to make it sound what it sounds like now. And that was the plan. You know, I think eventually we're going to try to possibly even do some live stuff with it. Just because stuff's fun and easy to play, and it's catchy, and people seem to like it already. So
yeah, that's what I asked him when we seen him a couple weeks ago at a show, and I had talked to him about it because I had listened to it. And that's what he said, because that's always my first question. Do you play with the click? Obviously, when you're doing that kind of work, you gotta have that click in there to be able to play along, you know, with each other. But he did mention about something, trying to get it going live. But he's kind of the same as you in a way, where he's got like
10 projects,
so many fucking so many projects and so many things going on.
He's obsessed with it, is what it is. You know, like he's just obsessed with it. You know what I mean? Like the guy's a drummer, but he started playing guitar, and you know, it's like the Dave Grohl kind of thing. You know what I mean? You're an amazing drummer, but you pick up a guitar and you can write shit too. Okay.
Yeah. I love his story, and it tracks with what you say. He's obsessed. He was so dedicated to metal and being a part of the scene that he's like, okay, drums alone aren't going to cut it. So not only got to learn how to play guitar, but now he's producing and recording, and sounds like he wants to get himself a label going. So I can see the similar work ethic between you two, and that's probably why the project turned out so well. Is there's a lot of chemistry there, just naturally the way you two operate.
I did a bunch of his tattoo work too, and that's how we would just talk during that stuff too, you know. And similar dudes, you know, he's a little bit younger than I am, but we love the same shit pretty much. He's he's a solid musician, you know. Like I almost want him to even write some riffs for Terror by Night, you know. Totally open to that too, you know. But that's the plan, is we're gonna try and get together and start hashing out some ideas for new material, and then slowly start playing the songs and see how it works for a live setting, you know. I'd like to still keep it a 3-piece, just something simple, but there's a lot of stuff going on, some of that where I might need a keyboard player and stuff too, but I don't know. Cross that bridge right there.
Yeah, he was telling us about all the stuff that he was adding, and you can hear it in the music, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always a fan of the 2-guitar attack, just because it sounds fuller and you can do a lot more with it, but you know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and musicians aren't always a plentiful, and especially if you have a certain vision, it's hard to find the other guys that want to coincide with what you're trying to, you know.
The more extreme it is, the less there is available, you know, to pick from.
Exactly.
So
go
ahead.
Sean. Oh, I was just going to say. So what I was going to say is tell me a little bit about your writing process. I mean, you're writing so many things with so many different projects. I want to, before we wrap this up, we still got a little bit, but I want to get back into Cavalcade because I know that's kind of one of your main things that's going on. I'd like to talk to that a little more. But I'm very curious about your writing process. Do you sit down with a guitar, you write a riff, and you say, hey, this might go with this project, or you just fucking around, or you go into it specifically and say, hey, I'm writing something for this project? So what does your writing process look like, dude?
I don't really have one. I kind of spur the moment. Like if I'm writing for Cavalcade, I'll just bust some stuff out. Just play a couple real stonery kind of riffs, and they'll gravitate to them or they don't. Because that's the thing is everybody in that band writes. So half the time I'm just writing mostly lyrics and some keyboard parts to it. So my job in Cavalcade isn't necessarily to write most of the stuff. It's mostly either Brad, Kale, or Craig that write. Wastelander, Matt writes majority of it. I probably write about 40% of some of that stuff. So that's that one I'll write specifically for, like, okay, that's a rock and roll riff. It's got to be fucking Wastelander. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then like summon days, I used to be like practice fucking every day, always constantly running riffs in my head all the time. And the older I gotten, I kind of filled that area of my brain with other stuff, so I don't really have that focus so much anymore. So now I like to just keep it spontaneous. Just feels more alive that way, I guess, not forced. That's the biggest thing is I don't like to force anything. A lot of times I'll just hear something that gets me goff, like I hear a fucking song that I just go, I'm inspired. Let's do something, That's usually all it takes. And it could be anything from listening to a Duran Duran song or fucking, like inspiration comes from everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's my writing process is kind of all over the place. It's just like art, like I don't really sit down always to draw. I have to sometimes sit down and draw for tattoo work, but a lot of times when I paint, I just start painting, just see what the fuck happens,
Yeah.
And I kind of like being in that weird ether of not really knowing if it's gonna work or not, because it's an experiment, It's like just diving off the diving board and hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes that's what's best, man.
It helps. You calculate the shit out of it and write something that you're so fucking proud of and nobody gives a shit. And then you write something that you took 5 seconds to do and everybody fucking loves it. So it's just like, I don't get it. So, I just do it. What feels right at the time really is where I'm at now.
So do you just have a guitar plugged into your computer and you just pick it up and we'll record some riffs if you're getting inspired then and just go from there?
Usually if it's I'm usually doing something production wise before I pick the guitar up.
Oh, okay.
I'm building, like I said, right now my method is making drums first, and then it's a way of jamming with yourself that makes any sense, because like that's half the time when you're like this is going back to when I was 16. It's like, I just had a drum to play to. I can make a song. You know what I mean? So that's where it's at. It's like, to me, I can write without my brain getting in the way and fucking it all up that way. A little easier. Because like I said, I've been playing guitar for 30 some years. And when you've done so many records and so many things have gone to tape and people have loved them or hated them or whatever, you just kind of get to this point where like everything feels like you've already done it, So it's kind of harder to like playing live these days with bands is to get excited about stuff because it's like I've already done this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of the firsts that's already been crossed, and you're kind of, but keeps you young at heart. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and if you enjoy doing it, just do shit you love and enjoy doing it. And it sounds like you have a good, a good grasp on that, and that's what you like to do. So, do you have any bands that are playing live? Just Cavalcade then?
Cavalcade and Wastelander.
Oh, okay. But you don't play guitar at all in Cavalcade. You just sing and keyboards.
I want to play guitar, but they don't want me to. They want me to run around. I get it, man. But man, when I first joined that band, it was so hard because like Summon was a million miles an hour, and I'm when I'm not singing, I'm looking at my hands, trying to fucking focus. And my first joint Cavalcade, I was like, what do I do with my hands? I feel silly, like just standing here waiting for my cue,
But I also like that about
pose.
Cavalcade. Yeah.
You gotta get the power pose, yeah.
I like that about that from where you come from. You had mentioned that earlier about like the actual song structure. We're big proponents of that, on the Metal Maniacs podcast, because that's what we grew up on. You listen to Deicide, early Deicide, all the stuff where you like Death, Carcass, At the Gates. There was hooks, there was patterns. It's just not some of these bands that go a million miles an hour and it's just singing over the whole thing or whatever it may be nowadays.
A hook can be the drum, the way the drums are played. It could be the guitar. It could be the vocals. So it's a matter of. That's why I think the Terror by Night stuff worked, because I think I wrote some drum hooks. And Eric made them even better. You know what I mean? He didn't play exactly what I had written, but I think that's kind of why it sticks out, because I tried to think of the drums just as hooky as the guitars, in a way. Yeah, that's a lot of people think about that. They usually think of a hook. They think of it's got something to do with the guitars, the vocals. It's like, man, half the time is the drums doing the right thing, especially in metal, especially in metal.
To me, that's kind of like bringing stuff back too, with the Cavalcade stuff. Like I said, we listened to it, but you brought things back, even though some of the songs are fairly long, at least, a couple of the ones we checked out. Long songs, but you brought patterns back, and, you have like some vocal melody going on in there.
Yeah, that last record we did was when COVID happened, and we were like, because the band is always constantly writing, but then we get to where, we got shows coming up, so we got to start, rehearsing a set. So we'd have 6 songs we're working on, and maybe 2 of them would survive, and the other 4 would get lost in the ether. You know what I mean? So when COVID happened, we were like, let's do a double record. So fast forward to we finally get everything tracked, and it's my turn to do vocals. I had like almost 12 songs I had to write stuff for, in the studio. And every time I'd sit down and do it, I was like, I don't want to just do what I've already done. So each song I tried to think of it as its own entity and its own personality, and then sing according to that, So I pushed myself really hard on that last record to do stuff I've never done with my voice. And it was a little nerve-wracking to hang yourself out there. But like I said, it's kind of like where I feel the most creative, is when you're letting it all hang out,
Yeah, for sure. So
I appreciate it. I appreciate a little more diversity, especially with vocals. You'll hear Jay and I we hate the 2-tone Timmy. You got the low and you got the high.
One tone.
Yeah.
You go ba 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 ba. There's nothing to catch onto,
Anyway, I just call it a yapper. Mostly he's just yapping and he's not really saying anything. I mean, if that's the project, if that's what the band agrees on, but I like a lot of vocal diversity. I got to have singing. I've got to have the fry vocals. I want to hear all of it. I want to hear something different in the middle that's inventive.
Yeah.
So I think pushing yourself like that and getting those results, kudos to you, because that's ultimately what a listener, I would think most listeners would want, is some vocal diversity. Otherwise, it's just like a drone, just another thing going on that doesn't really help the song.
That's kind of how they approached their singer when I first was around. He was just like, he wasn't really the front guy. He was just another instrument. And the guy kind of just sang kind of atonal black metal kind of vocals. And I was like, man, you can put a little more character into that, like put some Mike Patton into it, put some Dax Riggs on it, and
there you go.
Bank it up a little bit.
Yeah, amen.
That is an interesting vocal in there, almost that weird kind of like black metal vocal over some of it. Like that's what makes it so interesting, where it's a cool vocal. I like it, but with that kind of music, you would not think you would hear that. And that's why I like the band, because it's interesting,
Yeah, that's why I joined them, man. I was like, I've never heard anything like this. Funny story is when I recorded their first album, I'd only heard like a 4-track recording, and it just sounded like a garage thing. So, okay, it's doomy, sludgy, noisy, got it. So we go in and we record stuff, we record the drums first, and we start layering stuff on top. So we do the bass first, and I'm like, okay, I get it, making sense. And then we did the F-sharp guitar on it, which is kind of more of the noodly guitar. And I was like, this doesn't sound right to me. What the fuck is going on here? Like, I don't get it. And they're all like, no, everything's great. Sounds good. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, to me, my ear going, this is out of tune. What the fuck, And Brad came in with a B and everything glued together. And I went, oh, you guys got me. I didn't expect that. That's killer. And that made me an instant fan and was like, I'm interested. Like, the face value of what that band is, I probably would, if you just said, hey, I didn't know nothing about them and you told me what it was about, I'd be like, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
But the fact that I had intertwined with it enough to go, wow, this is interesting. I've never heard anybody approach it this way. And still to this day, we find people are like, well, what kind of music are you guys? And we're like, I don't fucking know. It's like grunge black metal. I don't fucking know what you call it, you know? Still to this day, our reviews are like, as soon as you name it one thing, another song comes on, you're like, oh, wait a minute, now it's something different.
Yeah,
I like that. Like, people can't just label you anymore, you know? It's probably detrimental to our career, but
that's all right.
We can figure out where to stick us.
Yeah,
you know?
No, I like that because, like I said, when I read the influencers, whatever, I was like, I don't know. And then when I heard it, I mean, grunge black metal kind of is a good, I guess, moniker for it. But at the same token, when I listened to it, what I heard was different than, the bands that it said it sounded like. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this don't really sound like anything else. But that's why I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, that was, I think, the plan with that whole weird tuning was just to do something nobody else had done, And I think they said they did that to force each other to play different stuff too.
Nice.
Like instead of just everybody's playing the same note, just on a different instrument. Like it's predictable, I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Were you going to say something, Nick?
I just think that the genre melding, is more popular these days. People don't necessarily want to hear the same song or the same style as the next band or from song to song. So
that's been my hardest thing with a lot of newer death metals and even black metal. It's like, yeah, I've heard this. I've heard this. Yeah. I'd just rather listen to Grave than this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. For one, it's already been done and done better, and two, you definitely get tired of hearing the same shit all the time. So when you take what you've got and you're taking from other styles, I'm a huge proponent of that. Just bring your own influence into it, something outside of the box, but still now it's heavy or it's got your dark heart on it, and I feel like you get some really interesting things out of that. So I love it. And like Jay said, we were kind of scared. We both looked at each other like, I fucking do not know about what we're going to listen to. Like, we were serious. We looked at each other and we both said, before we listen to this, let's just be open. This might not work. We might not like this shit, but so we like kind of like, we prefaced that, and then we listened to it, and we were like, oh, that was fucking not only not bad, that was fucking great. So, like, cheers to that. You guys
probably got the Demons for the Truth song is probably what you got.
Yeah, and I think it was a video. It was like you guys were kind of jamming in the studio or whatever. I think that's the one that you sent us. But that episode will come out here in a couple weeks, and I'll send you the clip so you can share on your social media and shit like that, our reaction, and I'll share the episode with you. But, we were
like, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we were pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, for sure.
That song cracks us up when we play it live because I break out a tambourine and people are like, what the fuck? Like,
satanic hippie again.
Like, oh, I get it now.
There's that satanic hippie coming through.
Man, come on.
Yeah. Nice. So do you guys have a practice schedule with Cavalcade then?
Yeah. We right after the album came out, we lost our drummer. So we've been working with a new drummer. Owen from Blind Haven's been playing with us. So we practice usually once a week here at my house. We're getting ready to play a string of shows coming up too.
Nice.
Couldn't off the top of my head where, when, or what, but we're gonna do like a couple dates with Stonecutters from Kentucky and a choke setter from Indiana. Just like a little weekend jammers, you know what I mean? Nothing crazy, but that's the kind of band we are. We're not trying to go tour the fucking world.
Yeah.
It's no point breaking your back. If they want you there, they want you there. If they don't, there's no reason to force it. You know what I mean? We're all old enough to where we are set in our ways, and this is what we do for fun. We're not trying to conquer the world or nothing. When you're younger, you want to be famous and all that crap. We've all gotten past that crap. We're all just,
it's too much work.
5 guys that are friends, really. I mean, Caleb, Brad and Craig grew up together in Blissfield. Like, they've known each other since like the first grade or something. So those dudes are like almost like a little family already. It's crazy.
Yeah, you get to a certain point where you realize that, like you said, if it's just some dudes hanging out, making some music.
Yeah.
The touring sounds fun and the fame and whatever comes with it, but with this kind of music, there is no fortune, so you can cross that off the list. It's not lucrative.
Yeah, you're gonna sleep in weird spots and maybe not sleep at all. And maybe not shower for a couple days. You know, I like touring if it's done right. You know, but like half the time it's guys don't know what they're doing and they're just trying to. Who's best at being homeless? Literally, is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You know? You can play a sweet guitar, but man, are you good at being homeless? You're not good at being homeless. It's not going to be a touring guy at all.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm terrible at being homeless.
Well, dude, I'm almost 50, so now I'm the guy that brings like a blow up mattress and like a sound machine to sleep. Remember, it's like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm gonna sleep, dude. If I gotta do this for 3 more days in a row, I don't want to feel like shit tomorrow. You know?
No, I feel that. I feel that not sleeping in your own bed without the fan. I have a deviated septum, so I can never breathe. So I always have fucking breathe right strips. That's why I always got a red mark on my nose because I can't even fucking breathe half the time. And I get it, bro. Yeah,
I have insomnia, so I got to sleep maybe 2-3 hours a night sometimes. And
I cannot sleep in any moving vehicle.
More stuff. I don't know. I just don't sleep.
Yeah,
that's the trick. Yeah, I can't sleep in a moving vehicle. Airplane, car, anything like a train, whatever it is, if it's moving, I cannot sleep in it. So that touring, if it means sleeping in the back seat of the van or something, like I'm not in that band. I can't do it. Sorry, I have to. And I'd be like you. I'd have to have my comforter, my pillow, my air mattress, and everybody now gets to shut the fuck up, or I turn into some other monster like a gremlin after midnight. I am an asshole if I can't sleep.
I'm always the guy like a day or two. It's like I'll buy a room. Let's get a fucking room. You know.
Yep.
I want to live like a person for a second, you know?
Amen.
Fuck all that shit.
So now, did you tour back with Summon? Because I know you guys were doing quite a bit. You guys were on fire there for a while.
Yeah, we did a 6 weeks tour of the U.S. with Thorn Spawn and Excommunion. This would have been like 2003 or something like that, maybe 2002. It was right after it was right after we had recorded Fallen, but we didn't have Fallen. Is that right? No, that was when we went to Europe. So we went to Europe for 6 weeks too with Summon. We did Belgium and Germany and Switzerland, Spain, probably a few others I'm forgetting. But that was like right before Fallen, our last record came out. We showed up, we didn't even have the record out. It was just a mess. It's that thing, you know, like you can plan a million things and then 5 things don't happen and you're kind of stuck, you know? So, but yeah, we did a 6 weeks one of the US with Summon and then a European one. We did like always be weekend warriors, go Friday through Sunday playing shows almost every other weekend. So that's how we were doing a lot of stuff, you know, going out of town. And we drove to New York a lot and played a lot. Philadelphia, New York, Ohio. Kind of always went out that way. Chicago, we played a bunch in Chicago. But yeah, I mean, the same thing I said, though, was like being homeless for 6 weeks, you know. Definitely cool experiences. I would have preferred to do them a little differently, especially the European one. But, you know, I got the memories of it. So yeah, I did it, you know.
Yeah. What was some of your favorite shows that you've done? Not even necessarily with Summon, but any of the bands that you've played in.
Yeah. Barcelona, Spain, Summon played. We co-headlined this fest in Barcelona, Spain. It was the end of the European tour. And I think we co-headlined with Gore Rotted, I think is who it was. And man, I had never seen people react to our music that way. Like by this point, we were razor tight. You know, we've been playing almost every day for 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And man, the crowd went fucking insane. I mean, I literally caught myself sometimes like watching the crowd and forgetting that I'm playing guitar. I was like, whoa, look at that guy. You know, like, so that's probably one of them, you know, like in Wasteland. I mean, every band's got shows that we were like, this is cool as fuck, you know, but that Marcelo Spain one was pretty cool. You know, there was a couple in Germany that were really cool too.
Did you find the reception a little bit different over there in Europe than the States? Was the vibe or the metalhead community a little bit tighter or more rambunctious over there?
It was tighter, but in another sense, you know, we were used to going around the U.S. and, hey, who's going to let us sleep on their floor tonight? Hey, you can stay at my house.
Yeah.
Europe, they're like, what? Sleep on my floor? That's weird. You know, like, why don't you get a room? Like, well, we don't have a room, you know, like, so that was kind of strange, you know, like, but the hospitality was like I don't, man, I would drink like local beer all fucking night as much as I wanted and not be hungover because it didn't have all the preservatives in it and shit. It was brewed right in that town, and
right.
Tons of killer memories, but there's a lot of, the hardest was to get used to the hours difference, like I think there was a week where I was just in a fog, didn't know what was going on. But yeah, a lot of the fans over there were super supportive, but they were almost kind of like 5 years behind us. They kind of expected that at this time we were summoned with Josh, and we just looked like four dudes that got on stage and played. Whereas these guys were like, "Where's the corpse paint and all the spikes and shit?" We kind of like, well, we kind of just focus on the music now. They were expecting that, and so a lot of people were like, "Wait, this isn't the band I thought they were," and they were all used to the albums before Josh and stuff, so it was a little awkward, but we won them over every night for the most part. We got to play with God Dethroned over there.
Oh, nice.
And they had
very nice,
solid fucking sound guys, so we sounded amazing every fucking night. It was killer. Yeah. But that was a good time. We had to buy in on that tour. Yeah, paying your dues.
Yeah.
We were planning on coming back a million times, but the band broke up shortly after that,
Right. Yep.
What caused that? Just everybody going their own way, or?
I would say that nobody ever really managed the band. And then somebody started over managing the band, and then finances started becoming their finances. And, you call somebody out, and their reaction is they'd rather fight you than be honest with you. So it's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. That
I was like, I'm not
your answer.
Fight. I don't want to have to fight with somebody that I'm in a band with, And
yeah, no shit.
It's not worth it, in my opinion,
Well, they say that.
I'd rather just enjoy your presence, even if you're a dick or whatever, But
that's my attitude.
I don't want
to be
relationship physically with you. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a violent person at all.
Yeah. Same.
I'd rather just smoke a joint and chill the fuck out.
Right.
Talk it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Being in a band is like being married, so you got to be able to be happy with that person. And I mean, it's so cliche. So many people have said it over the years, but if you cannot get along with that person, then that's just a person I don't want to be around. I say the same thing to my wife all the time. I was like, I don't want to be my parents. I don't want to be fighting and arguing all the time. So we need to have conflict resolution at all times.
Something happens where you can't take it back.
Right.
When something goes too far, and you're just like, well, now we're just not going to get anywhere now. There was drug issues involved too. I went down a slippery slope for a while there. Lots of alcohol. Jesus Christ. We used to pride ourselves in showing up and being the most drunk band there and still outplay your band. Somehow. It could have been total noise as far as we knew, but we used to be like, that used to be our goal, satanic beer metal or something.
Satanic beer metal. That means. Awesome. So why'd you get away from the corpse paint? Just sick of putting it on, or what?
Yeah, because
been there, done that.
Well, it got to a point where people would, you wouldn't do it, and then they'd be like, "Oh, what's up with that?" And then they'd ask, like, "Well, did you enjoy the show?" And I'm like, "Yeah," but like, "Why are you just waiting to see something you've never seen?" Or are you here to listen to the music? And we kind of got where we were like, listen to the fucking music, dude. Who cares if I'm spitting blood or breathing fire? But now I see how I should just wrote it out the whole way, because that's what it started. That's what people started to be like. It's kind of like Kiss when they're like, sorry, now we're these ugly dudes just standing here.
Yeah.
But I get it now. I get it now. Like we went overseas and they expected that, and I don't know. It's weird. It's weird being in a band because, the band can be in one thing, and then fans and people all around the world are still in this thing, and you don't even realize it till you're smack dab in the middle and go, "Wait, I didn't realize I'd changed this much," And
Well, there's definitely something to be said for stage presence and bringing the show to life. I get it. On the one hand, you got your Metallica just standing there in jeans and a T-shirt, and you shred so goddamn well that everybody's just going to love you for the music. But everybody's not Metallica, So most people got to do a little something else. And like you said, if the fans are already expecting something, you kind of have to deliver on it. Yeah. And from a viewer or listener standpoint, when I go to a concert, I actually do want to see a little bit of a spectacle on the stage. I'm already there for the music. I fucking know where I am. I'm in a metal venue, and I know there's metal about to be played. So you kind of want to punch it up a little bit with the spectacle. You know, whether it's pyrotechnics, the corpse paint, you know, the spikes. I can see being in the band. That's fucking cumbersome to me. Like, I do not want to wear corpse paint. You know, I do not want to get I don't want to put 2 hours into getting fucking visually ready, but there's something to be said for it, right?
Blazingly fast with its 10 pounds of spikes on your arms.
Yeah.
Ask Ray.
Got old. I mean, now if I was, and this isn't a plan by any means, but if someone was to return tomorrow, I'd be like, yeah, it's got to be the corpse paint and all that. Go back to the first record, you know, and like take it to there, because all the later stuff with Josh got lost in labels now, and most people haven't really heard those albums. The ones that are in circulation now are the ones, the first demo we did and the first album we put out, you know, because I still have a licensing. I still own the rights to those songs, whereas the other albums got signed away to a label, and the label's not doing much with them. So, you know.
Well, what does that mean to you in terms of performance live? You can still bring them out live, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but
that's what I'm saying. As I'm saying, people more now have heard more of the earlier version of Summon than later Summon. You know what I mean? So
heard
that's why I was like, if I brought it back out, I almost wouldn't want Josh in it. I want it to be like the original drummer, and you know, I would want to go back. Yeah, go back to where it was, you know.
So I had a question real quick on the Summon the Fallen record.
Yeah.
That came out in like 2005, it says. Yeah. But it says produced by Dave Otero. Is that the Dave Otero?
Yep.
The guy that's producing Cattle Decap and Arcspire and all that shit?
Yeah.
So where did you guys go to record that? Oh,
Denver.
Denver. That's him.
I think it was called Hellion Studios. I don't remember what he calls it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that dude's fucking solid. He's the first person I ever like did reamping with and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like learned a lot from that dude actually. But yeah, still this day he's a badass producer. The one before we did with James Murphy.
Oh no shit.
Jason Sukoff.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, and
that's big time, bro.
That was crazy, dude. Because like I don't think I'm any. I can shred, but I'm not like. Play me the fifth scale of blah, blah. I'm not that guy, you know?
Yeah.
So here I am trying to play my solos for an album in front of James Murphy. I feel like a turd.
Oh,
because it's just like this dude I looked up to. He's like, you were in Death, Cancer, Obituary, and Testament, you know? Like,
yeah.
So I've heard.
Play my stupid little solo in front of you.
So, I don't know how old James was at this point that you're recording him, probably a little bit later on in his life. Can you speak to his personality a little bit? Because it seems like he's been a guy, when he was younger, you know, you watch the death documentary, and like Chuck couldn't, like, he couldn't have him in the band. Did you find James to be a little bit more matured or grown since then, like, at the time that you knew him?
The problem was he had just gotten, I don't know if you know the story of him, but he got some kind of tumor behind his eye.
Yes. Yeah, I do.
And like he spent years almost like homeless and shit like that.
Yep.
To where his sister had to like finally like, not to air his fucking laundry, but finally get him help and all this stuff.
No,
so
that story's known. That story's out there.
Yeah, when we recorded with him, he had just started to get back into it.
Okay.
So he was still a little fatigued.
Okay.
You know, there was some weird stuff with just him not knowing the studio a little bit that happened, but it was like it was a good experience. I mean, the dude knew his shit, you know what I mean? And he played some solos on one of the songs.
Very nice.
He's definitely a little. I've heard people say he's a little bit of a quirky character, I guess.
That's kind of what I'm driving at. Like if he had that sense of humor or that little bit of a like
he'd have sense of humor, but it almost would have none at sometimes too, which would be. And we were just drunk goofballs, so I think we drove him a little crazy because he's just like, "Come on, guys, let's get it together. What are we doing?"
Right.
We're drinking beers, making dick fart jokes, you know. And he's like,
"Right,
let's make a death metal record."
Yeah.
No,
There's a fine balance.
A legend. He's a legend.
Yeah, the dude shreds though. Still, I mean, like I got to play his guitar for solos and stuff, and it was just like, oh my, this thing you barely touch it, and it just sounds amazing, you know. So it was very cool, and I think it was right after Chuck had either passed away, because they did that studio we were at was where they did the Control Denied stuff.
Okay.
And so there was a weird kind of still like almost like presence of him still around or something. You know what I mean? The nostalgia part of it was pretty cool. We hear tons of just stories about Chuck through him too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I think we went down there and recorded for like 2 weeks. Just stayed at their house, and that was another learning experience. But yeah, the one with Dave Otero, that was the last time I went into the studio. Beyond that, I've recorded everything in house now.
Yeah, he's still out there recording. I mean, like I said, he just did one of the recent cattle decaps. He's done Arcspire. I mean, that dude's done top of the line shit, and he's getting better all the time. And Sukoff too. I mean, he's worked with Black Dahlia Murder, and I mean, he's worked with top of the line fucking people too.
Zukoff can play the fucking shit out of a guitar, dude.
Dude, he's so good.
God.
Yeah,
he's playing Marty Friedman solos like nothing, and we're all just like, and he's just goofing around.
Yeah. He's fucking awesome.
On my best day, bro.
Yeah, he's a hell of a producer and a hell of a guitar player for sure. That's wild, dude. That's cool as fuck.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever heard his project Crotch Duster.
No.
If you look, you should look it up. It's
definitely.
I think it's when he first got his studio. It was like him and his buddy were trying to do like a death metal version of Tenacious D or something. And it's like, so they played like a song will sound like Megadeth, and then all of a sudden goes into like a extreme black metal thing. Like it just bounces all over the place. There's funk on it, and it's just all funny dick fart pussy jokes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, there's a fine line.
Shit, the name of the album.
Big box of shit. Yeah, there's a fine line. You know, dick and fart jokes and death metal. It kind of all goes hand in hand. You know?
Yeah. I think it was in that his dog was in the band too.
Nice.
That tells you what it's about.
All right, man. Well, we're going to be wrapping up here shortly. I got a few more questions for you. I don't want to hold you all day. I know you're a busy dude. Thanks again for coming on the podcast. Appreciate that. Yeah. So, you know, Sean, so what is your favorite part of just doing music or being in bands, or, you know, what is your favorite part of that?
Probably recording, making the songs, writing. I kind of realized over the time, like I used to love going out and playing and wanting to play at the prime spot and stuff like that, you know. And now I'm kind of more, I like the behind the scenes stuff. You can control it a little more, you know. You can make it as awesome as you want or as easy and quick as you want. So I like the writing, producing part, you know, the most. Like if I could just do that, like if Terror by Night could just be like Dark Throne and just put out records and people buy them, I probably would do that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the live thing, I think it's weird. This newer generation, or however you want to call it, just like there's something weird where like live is not as sacred as it used to be. You know, feeling. I guess that's maybe because everybody has a camera and they can kind of just, I can check it out on this instead of actually having to go there. And there's just definitely, you know, because saying that too, as I started with pen pal stuff, you know, there's definitely a weird disconnect this day and age. Just kind of like you can be friends with someone online, but you never really interact as a one-on-one with them. It's strange to me, you know, like, so.
Yeah.
I mean, me live is just kind of awkward. I don't know. Yeah. You know, like they either love it or they just stand there going, huh? You know?
Yeah, I have a few points on that. One, on a personal note, when I do music, I like creating as well. So I'm kind of in that boat, like just to see what's next. Like when you're writing a new song and you're just like, oh, that is cool. That feels good. That's, you know, maybe something the same as I've done before, but maybe a little unique, you know, so I can relate on that behalf, where that creative part is just really awesome. When you start getting into the nitty gritty of tracking or playing live, there's just a lot of other shit that goes with that. I think another thing though, too, with the live experience, there's just so many bands now, you know, back in the day when you were tape trading and Nick and I were buying CDs just because of the cover art, you know, reading the Metal Maniacs magazine, getting exposed. There was a lot of bands, but they're just not like it is today. Now with the internet and so many people play now, and just, you know, so many more people in the world from when we were growing up, you know, as it is, it's just, there's almost too much, you know, which makes it cool because you can always discover and experience something new. But at the same token,
it's just that weird thing. Like, is music sacred like it used to be? You know, like, is it? Because I mean, when I was younger, Yeah, when I was younger, it was like your whole identity was what you listened to. You gauge on whether you want to be friends with somebody by what they listen to, and now it's like people don't even really talk about what they're into anymore. Really, it's kind of. I guess the metal community still does, you know what I mean? But um, yeah, I used to have this joke of like judging you by your musical taste. Is that too shallow or not shallow enough?
Yeah.
Still holds true, I guess, from my perspective. But yeah,
music is not sacred whatsoever anymore. Everybody's
especially
because
like how it's not monetized like it used to be. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like now anybody can put anything up, and like you said, there's so much of it. How do you find the gems?
Yep. It feels like you're not in a band anymore. You're in a brand. And if you don't have like the merch and the fan base, like the friends and the image and the whole everything to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jason and I, not really known for having a whole gang of friends. So you show up to our shows and it's like not as many people. We kind of had to rely on some of the other party bands to bring their friends into the fold and play in front of them because we're like 9 to 5 guys. We're working. We got lives. We have to support the art. Whereas some of the other guys.
Job is social media, It's a full-time job, really. Yeah. Especially if you're trying to like monetize off of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say that just from being a tattoo artist, I started and I used to get a lot of like publications and magazines and would travel all over the place and it just came easy. And when the internet age came around, it was like, I don't know how to navigate this, and like, I still don't technically know how to do it either. And, but I guess it's just part of being, fucking Gen Xer, I guess,
Yeah,
it's right in the middle. We got a little bit of it before and after, So
it's an art within itself to be able to figure it out.
I don't get it, man.
I do want to say, Nick, I think we had a lot of friends. We just didn't have a lot of friends that wanted to come out and listen to technical death metal. That's a whole fucking different. Yeah, like we weren't just playing. Yeah,
touche.
We had a lot of friends.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, we had a lot of friends, but they're like, why the sweet picking? I don't understand what the fuck.
Thank you for the save, Jay.
You guys would be way better if we could tell what you were saying. That'd be really, we'd like you a lot more. We could understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
me too.
Even when we, in our later years where we started writing more songs and not as technical, it's still a lot, way too much for the average Joe. It takes a certain soul to enjoy this shit. So
less is more, man. I had to learn that the hard way.
We say that all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Less is more.
All right, Sean. So what's next, brother?
I think. So Cavalcade's going to be just doing some shows like we always do, weekend warrior things. Wastelander's going to be doing some stuff here and there. I think we're going to try to do an EP possibly this year. And then Terror by Night, we're going to see where that. We're going to, at the very least, put out another EP or something by the end of the year.
Nice.
Possibly even some shows. We're just trying to fill that out, sometimes the creative part's way better than the actual performing part. So we'll see it. We haven't jammed in a room yet, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm just doing what I've always done, not doing the 9 to 5 and just trying to be creative.
Do you have any bands that you're producing for that are outside of your own art, or?
Nah, not really. That's the weird thing is I thought with getting my own studio, I'd get more bands that wanted to do it, but half of them already have the stuff. You know what I mean?
Nowadays, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, most bands now can record their own music and then take it to somebody and have them finish it, or mix it. So, I mean, I'm available if anybody wants them to do some stuff.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Cool. So, Nick, do you have anything else before you ask your final question?
I can see the man is pretty busy with all of his art. I don't suppose you have any other hobbies that you keep up with outside of painting or tattooing or writing and producing? Or do you have other things outside of your art?
Not really. I just became a grandparent. That's probably about the only other thing.
Oh,
so,
nice. Congrats.
Congratulations. Yeah, that's awesome.
Hanging out with my grandson randomly.
That's cool.
Slowly teaching him, like, hey, this is Black Sabbath. Hey, this
Get
is
him
the
going.
Beatles.
Get him going in the right direction. Yep.
Yeah.
That's fun.
All right, Mod.
Yeah, I see it. Thank you, Jay. We always go to these final questions here, Sean.
Okay.
Please let us know what you are listening to right now that is heavy. Your recommendation to your fans and friends if you think this is the heavy metal band that they need to be listening to, and also please enlighten us to what you like to chill out to when it's time to decompress and put on a different vibe outside of the heavy music. What do you got?
I say right now I'm probably listening to the newest Locust Point album.
Okay, very cool. I don't know it, but
it's kind of like Thin Lizzy rock and roll metal. It's
I fucking love that.
Got Doc, who was the bass player for Harbinger, and then Lucius Fox is another really good band, or two-piece.
They just hit us up.
That name,
yeah, they just hit us up.
Okay. Yeah, they're really good, dude. They're amazing. A shred for being a two-piece.
Nice.
No vocals, but it's atmospheres, it's pretty cool. And then as far as like chilling out, like I listen to a lot of old stuff, like I listen to old like Pink Floyd, like Syd Barrett.
That would be the old stuff.
Yeah, I get into really the old stuff, old Bowie, old. My record collection is pretty much just all I like weird shit, like psychedelic Hawkwind stuff, the more psychedelic the better. Love the Beatles, love Pink Floyd, love I guess my generation stuff, I'll still go through and listen to a lot of old grunge stuff and stuff like that, but
that's the classics.
Cool. I love it.
Yeah.
I respect it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, all right, man. We're going to wrap this beast up. I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there anything else that you want to say? Anything else you want to promote, bro? Or
no, just I appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks for
dude. I felt like it was overdue, and I'm glad you came on the show. I mean, just with your history and everything you've done for, so our show, we got a few names that we're going to have on the show, and we're going to keep expanding the show. We're fairly new. But we just want to hang with people and talk extreme metal, man, because this is what we know, and we also want to keep it to, part of it, we want to keep true to the Michigan scene. So if you've been a part of it for so long, so we're out here trying to represent our scene around here in Michigan, so.
Yeah, you should definitely check out the Dystopian Dogs, at least their Bandcamp. Okay. Everything that's on there is pretty much all Michigan-based stuff. They're even going through and, like, finding old bands that, just got lost in the fray from the 80s and stuff, and it's all Michigan.
Hell yeah.
So it's pretty cool, man. Really cool. They're like, I dig what they're doing,
Hell yeah. Badass.
And it's all Michigan, so,
Fuck yeah, we'll check that out. Sweet. Well, all right, brother. Thank you so much for your time today, man. You have a great Sunday, and much love to you. Keep it metal, brother.
Later.
Yep, see you.
Cheers. Peace.
Thank you so much for checking out the episode. Be sure to hit that like button and give us a share.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed our podcast today, please give it a rating on your streaming service to help us gain some exposure.
And if you really enjoyed the show, please give us a follow or hit that subscribe button and come hang out with us every week. And remember, keep it metal.